Hey everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today I'm with Matthew Tavory from World Coin South FL, and I'm super excited. He has some great coins with tons of history on them. We're going to be able to take a close-up look at them and just learn a lot. Strap in, it's going to be quite a ride. So thanks for being on, Matthew.
Thanks for having me.
So I think we said we were going to start with this one, but what's sort of the start with these 30 Years
So
War?
we're going to start. The 30 Years' War was the last big religious war of Europe and the first war of geopolitics of Europe. And the 30 Years' War was extremely devastating for, you can guess by the name, it lasted for 30 years. And World War One, for reference, killed about 1.7% of Europe's population. The 30 Years' War killed 1.4% without modern tanks, guns, planes, and everything, gas.
Yeah.
So the 30 Years' War started because the new King of Bohemia, the King of Austria, and the Holy Roman Emperor, Ferdinand II, was a Catholic. The old king was a Protestant, so he sent all of his representatives to Prague and Bohemia to go change them to become Catholics. And the Bohemians didn't like that. So they took his representatives and they threw him out of a fifth-story window. And it's called the Second Defenestration of Prague because yes, there is a first time that, and there was actually a third time someone threw another person out of a window in Bohemia. And believe it or not, his representatives survived. Protestants say that, or Catholics say that they were saved by angels. Protestants say they fell in a pile of horse manure. And choose who you want to choose to believe on that one. And, so that started the war. So the 30 Years' War is divided into four phases. The Bohemian phase, the Danish phase, the Swedish phase, and the French phase. So the first phase was the Bohemian phase. If you want to show that clippy there.
Yep.
So the Bohemian phase was won by the Catholic Austrians and the Imperial and Catholic armies. This piece was made right towards the end of it. Now, originally I thought it was made during the sieges of Glogau and Breslau, but it is not. It is actually a way to basically cheat over indemnity payment. Now, if you look at the label there, you're going to notice it says 3th, 3 thaler. That has about the silver of a 3/4 thaler, not even a 1. So why is it denominated for such a that's like about 3 years' wages for a peasant back then. That's a really high denomination for those. Basically, towards the end of the 30 Years' War, all the Bohemian nobles who were not executed or exiled by Albrecht von Wallenstein, a Catholic Bohemian who sided with the Austrians, were forced to pay massive fines. And a way to get around that is if your fine is just, let's say, $100,000, it might only have 3/4 thalers worth of silver, but it's denominated as a 3 thaler. On paper, you just paid 3 thalers to your debt. It's a very interesting way to go ahead and try to screw over the emperor.
And a quick pause there. I mean, the first thing I think is, well, why would anybody accept that? Did that go through, or how was it
No,
received?
that would never be accepted as to be worth 3 thalers. And this is actually partially the reason why it was originally thought to be a siege coin. Siege coins, I mean, during the siege, your city's surrounded, you don't have that much stuff. You just put any denominations in the coins and you say, after the battle's over, trade this in, we'll give you the actual 3 thalers worth of silver, not this 3/4 thalers worth. So that's why it was thought to be a siege coin. Modern research now shows it's not. But the reason why it's also shaped like a diamond, which is called a clippy, is because it required less silver. So it's probably not even 3/4 worth of silver.
Man.
I mean, it is the dirt cheapest, most crude way to make that. And they really did not like the Ferdinand II, the Emperor of Austria and the Holy Roman Emperor. They really just tried to screw him over. Unfortunately, this coin is repaired, but it's very hard to get these straight graded. And a lot of them were, back then, there was something called the Kipper and Vipper as well. Clipping and melting coins, basically, is what it roughly translates to.
Okay.
And coins would often be clipped, where they take a little silver off, or they melt it down and remake it with less pure silver. So coins back then were never accepted at face value, almost. They were always weighed, scaled with the money changer scales, and it was a form of economic warfare. So this was a real ratchet up on that form of economic warfare. You're at this point, you're not clipping and melting coins. You're just full blown, just lying about its value.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one. So the next phase of the war, unfortunately, I don't have any coins from that phase. Is the Danish phase. Basically, the Catholic Austrians kicked the Danish Protestants around and everything. Then became the Swedish phase of the war, and that's where these two next coins come in. The Swedish phase of the war is the most famous phase of the war. First one we have here is the PCGS holder, is the 1632 Erfurt Purim thaler. So on September 7th, 1631, the Swedish king Gustavus Adolphus fought the Count of Tilly in the Battle of Breitenfeld near the modern city of Erfurt in Saxony. And he completely routed the Catholic and the imperial armies. And it was a huge victory. So all the town folks were celebrating. So 1 year after that, on September 7th, 1632, this town made this coin to celebrate his 1 year anniversary of victory. Now, some of you are asking, why is it called a Purim thaler? If any of you guys are Jewish, Purim is the day that we celebrate when Esther went ahead and saved the Jews from modern Persia. And it's basically just so happened that the battle happened on Purim in 1631. So if you look on the reverse, towards the top right here, I'm going to put my hand in the legend here. Oh, there we go. It says Dies Purim, on this day of Purim, September 7th, 1632, and it goes in just pure Lutheran propaganda. This day, Purim, 1632, Gustavus Adolphus, the 3 times the greatest. It's just pure. I mean,
it's
pure. If you're Catholic, you will not like this coin, but and the obverse has a Bible quote from Exodus 15:6. I think it translates to "Thy right hand, O Lord, has smashed thy enemy."
Wow. So
and you might be wondering why does it have Hebrew in the sun. Basically, that's not the correct way of saying God in Hebrew nowadays. That's a really old way. If you were to phonetically pronounce it, it'd say Jehovah or Yehovah.
Yeah.
That's not how if you tell a modern Jew that, they will be insulted, actually.
Okay.
But that's the old way of saying it. Lutherans still say it that way. But it's just like God shining down on him and everything. And that it's an estimated mintage of 1,500 on those.
How many do you think are surviving?
15 probably that I know of. I'm sure there's more I just don't know of. That is tied for the finest known. There's 2 in PC 55, 1 in NGC 55, and I actually used to own the NGC 55. And that one, in my opinion, is far superior than the other 2 55s and is undergraded.
What would you put this one at?
58 at worst, more of a 61.
And how do you arrive at that grade?
The luster. Most of those things are dark, no luster, very weakly struck. That one is extremely well struck.
And who are the buyers for this sort of coin?
A lot of just history. I'm a history major at Florida Atlantic University. It's just like people who love history. Sweden, those are very popular in Sweden for obvious reasons. It's German collectors, just people who want stuff that's just. Believe it or not, a lot of Catholics do like that stuff, just showing the hard times in their history. Same thing with Protestants. It's a wide market.
And, I didn't ask about this one before, but what sort of valuation do you think is reasonable on these 2 coins?
The clippy 3 thaler from Silesia is probably I want to say 500 to 600 off the top of my head. The Purim thaler, I sold my old NGC AU55, which was very dark, weak strike, for $2,600. That, my opinion, that coin blows that other one out the water. It's currently listed on my eBay for $3,750, which is a bit high. I don't really want to sell it. Obviously, anyone's more than welcome to make an offer. Realistically, I think it's about a $3,000 coin.
Sounds good. And do you think the value in a different holder, an 8 or a 61, or does it not really matter?
When you get to it's tied for the finest known already, how much is it? Would it matter? Yes. Would it increase? It's not an easy black and white thing where you can just look and there's no catalog that says, oh, a 61 is worth that much. Oh, a 55 is worth that much. It's not like U.S. coins where you have to base it off auction comps. And the auction comps for, I don't think there are any in 55 actually, and there's none graded 61, so how can there be auction comps for them?
Makes sense. Anything on these 2 before we move on to the next one, or how does this sort of continue and flow into the big coin?
So the big coin there, the 2 thaler. So the next year in December 6, 1632, Gustavus Adolphus, the Swedish king, died in a cavalry charge in the Battle of Lutzen. So after he died and everything, the Queen of Sweden went and took his body, they embalmed it in Weissenfeld, and they put it on a boat from Wolgast in Germany to Sweden. Well, on the way to the boat in the city of Wolgast, they had an idea. They took the Queen's silver sink and water jug, and they melted it down to make silver coins. And they made them as small as denominations as a 1/4 thaler to, in silver, they go up to 4 thalers. In gold, there are 4 known 16 ducats, which is just, I think it's like 60 thaler, like a really ridiculous, and 1 thaler is about a year's wage for a peasant.
It's a huge face
value.
Yeah,
like something that's very impractical. It's like walking around today trying to spend one of those $100,000 bills the Fed Reserve made.
It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
And what did they do with them?
So they made those coins out of the Queen's silver sink and water jug, and they put them in the Queen's carriage, and they threw them in the street through the city of Wolgast after the king's body. And it caused actually a riot, because between all denominations, probably maybe 1,200 coins made. I mean, if you're a dirty peasant, illiterate peasant who doesn't quite know, and you literally just see multiple lifetimes worth of money just being thrown into the street, you're going to go chase it. You're not going to care what the heck's going on. You're going to chase after the money. So 36 people died, actually, trying to get to these coins.
That's sad, but I mean, it's such an absurd thing that happened. I mean, I don't really realize, I'm trying to think in the Queen's mind why that was a good idea. And
to celebrate his life, I mean.
Yeah.
So this coin has a lot of, symbolism. So the obverse has Gustavus Adolphus riding a chariot carried by 3 Pegasi off into heaven, and he's being crowned by the personifications of justice and triumph. And the obverse says, "Well done, my faithful servant," coming down from God, right above his head. And if you notice, he's running over something really weird. That example's a little bit worn, but he's running over what is, if any of you guys read the Bible, the whore of Babylon, who is supposed to represent Pope Urban VIII.
Wow, so really, really making a statement there. I mean, this would
Yes.
not have been received well.
No, it was not received well by Catholics. And actually, a lot of them were, that particular denomination, there was a mintage of 60. And there's currently, to my knowledge, 8 known surviving.
Wow.
I have one of 2 that's certified.
And how do you think that it compares in terms of condition to the other ones?
I mean, they're thrown in the street, they're walked over by horses, ran over by carriages, people are killing each other for these. I mean, if you find one, period, you don't care what grade it is.
Definitely.
When I found that example, the dealer I bought it from jokingly says, I put it in my hand and I never let go of it, and he jokingly said, you're not letting go of that coin. He's like, no one's...
Yeah.
It took me 10 years to find an example in any denomination, regardless of the condition or the denomination, just period. And if you look at the reverse, it has the king's body lying in the battle while his troops rout the Catholics in the background. And it says, even in death as in life, I triumph. And
Interesting.
You see 2 cherubs coming down from heaven, taking his soul up to God.
And was this level of detail common for a 2 thaler or?
So it depends on what the coin. Some 2 thalers, yes. Some 2 thalers, no. When you get into really ridiculous high denomination German coins, especially from back then, they were not meant to be regular circulation coins. Some were. Those coins are. They're nice and everything. I mean, they're not crazy symbolism and everything. Then you get to the ones that are made for very specific meanings. This one's made for a very specific meaning to celebrate Gustavus Adolphus's life, and as a subtle FU to Catholics. And so that one, that's the reason why that has just so much detail on it. I mean, if you see some other 2 thalers from that time period, actually I have a 3 thaler from that time period. It's not related to the war, but we'll go ahead and pull that out here. You're going to see it's got a little bit. This 3 thaler actually has some religious meaning to it as well. So
let me just do the handoff here, and I'll get it in the picture.
This is a 3 thaler actually. It's a 1620 to 1634 Hamburg 3 Schauthaler actually. So Schauthalers, if anyone speaks German, Schauthaler, They're a gray area. They're technically coins, but they're like more of a. They're not really meant to circulate. They're more of like as a show or as peace gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a marriage three-taler. If you look on the obverse, the other side there, it has Jesus marrying a couple, a noble couple, and I think that's the Dukes of Saxe, Weissenfeld, and I forget where the woman came from. Who she was a duchess of, but Jesus is marrying them, and fortunately this example is tooled, but you don't see them not tooled when you get in this high denomination.
And for those that don't know, what do you mean by tooled?
Basically, someone tried to remove corrosion on the coin. And in this particular example, they did a really bad job.
Okay, and I mean it would be correct here. This is the true size of a thaler.
Yes,
this is the size that they were passing off.
Yes, so you can see just how
absurd.
Yes,
that wasn't gonna fly.
No one was falling for that. If you look at the reverse there, it's the wedding at Cana. For any of you guys who read the Bible, that is where Jesus first turned water into wine.
Such an incredible display here and artistry. It's a far larger size than anything for the in hand. It's tough maybe to judge the size of the coins, but these are huge coins.
Yeah, the the real thaler, is 62 millimeters and it weighs 84.5 grams roughly.
Yeah, that's a big coin.
So like triple a Morgan.
And one question, that maybe can't really be answered, but when they would put all this sort of political stuff, I understand that it's very important what they're putting on the coin. They're trying to send some messages, but who was seeing these coins and then getting the message, or was it sort of just to scratch their own back and say, I've made some great coins?
Both. It was definitely to scratch their own back and say I made great coins. Absolutely. That was one. This particular example of marriage thaler would be given out to wedding guests.
Wow, so certainly...
And it was kind of like to celebrate their marriage. The Gustavus Adolphus one, that was thrown in the street, was made to celebrate his life and look how opulent I can be even after death. You love me. The Purim thaler is celebrating his victory in the Battle of Breitenfeld. The clippy thaler, well, that one's just really just to screw over the Catholics.
And then maybe as we wrap up this video, in terms of the 3 and 2 thaler valuations, what are your sort of estimates?
Okay, so that 2 thaler, the Gustavus Adolphus death one, that is on my eBay for $20,000. I will admit that is, to use a term, nut job money. I do not want to sell that coin. I will never sell that coin. I got my own pedigree on that coin because I don't ever want to sell it. What is it really truly worth? Probably around the ballpark of $6,000 to $8,000.
Okay.
Again, it's on my eBay for $20,000. Basically, hey, look, I got a $20,000 coin. It gets people looking at the rest of my stuff. The 3 thaler, actually, that is for sale. That is only $2,250 at the moment. Everyone thinks just because large denomination is really large silver, it's got to be worth tens of thousands of dollars. No. Granted, that example is tooled. If you had a non-tooled, like regular XF40, we'd be talking maybe $5,000.
Wow, but these are some really nice and valuable and historic coins. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing about them.
Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to doing some videos in the future. I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and definitely subscribe to the channel and connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I also have a website, treasuretownYT.com, where you should go so that you can learn more about coins as well as what's happening on the channel and possibly find a place to sell your coins and collectibles. I also want to talk about some of my other projects like coinmeltprice.com, which shows precious metals prices as well as the melt values of coins containing those precious metals, both US and world. I also have coinsmetalscards.com, which will develop into a full marketplace, as well as a news source for coins, metals, cards, as the name might suggest. And then treasuretowncoins.com, which long-term will be my coin dealing entity, separate from the channel. And lastly, whatsthegrade.com, which will be a stickering service for already certified collectibles, where you can get a approval or verification of the grade on the holder. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you on some of my other videos.